Anthony Joshua was supposed to be the face of boxing for the next decade. A two-time heavyweight champion, an Olympic gold medalist, a global icon, but today he's fighting to stay relevant. What happened? How did he go from being knocking out giants to being knocked down himself?
He's in big trouble. He is in huge trouble.
This isn't just a story about losing fights. It's about crushing pressure, unexpected failures, and the weight of expectations. It's about how the once invincible AJ became a question mark in the boxing world. Is this the end, or is there one final chapter left in his story? Stay tuned, because this is the shocking downfall of Anthony Joshua. Before the downfall, there was the rise, and what a rise it was.
The heavyweight fighting pride of England and all the UK, heavyweight champion of the world, AJ.
Joshua didn't just win, he dominated. From the moment he turned pro in 2013, he was a knockout machine. First 20 fights, 20 wins, 20 knockouts. Every opponent crumbled. Every challenger was flattened. The message was clear.
Who's going to stop Joshua now?
This wasn't just another heavyweight. This was the future of the sport. The boxing world took notice. Mike Tyson called him the future of boxing.
This is what makes him special.
Lennox Lewis saw him as the next great heavyweight champion of our era. Even Floyd Mayweather once said, Joshua's got everything: power, presence, marketability. He's the full package, sis. And the numbers backed it up. In 2016, he won the IBF heavyweight title by knocking out Charles Martin in just 2 rounds. A year later, he faced Wladimir Klitschko in a fight that would define him.
This party started!
Spine-tingling anticipation.
That night at Wembley Stadium, 90,000 fans packed the stands. Klitschko, the veteran, the legend, the master of heavyweight boxing, was supposed to school the young lion, but Joshua had other plans. 5th round, Joshua lands a massive uppercut, sending Klitschko crashing to the canvas. The crowd erupts. But then, just moments later, Joshua is the one on the floor, knocked down in the 6th.
Right hand sends Joshua down.
Getting chinned in the 6th round, I wasn't sure whether he'd get up, showed tremendous heart.
A moment of vulnerability, a test of heart. And then came the defining moment. Round 11, a vicious uppercut, a relentless assault. Klitschko is finished. The fight is over. Anthony Joshua is now the king of the heavyweight division. He wasn't just a champion, he was a superstar. Endorsements rolled in. He became the face of boxing, with millions of fans and lucrative sponsorship deals. Nike, Under Armour, Lucozade. His face was everywhere. He was Britain's pride, the golden boy, the perfect role model. But here's the thing about boxing. You're only as good as your last fight. The moment you show weakness, the wolves start circling. And for Joshua, the cracks were about to show. June 1st, 2019, Madison Square Garden. The lights were bright, the energy was electric. This was supposed to be Joshua's grand entrance into the American market, a chance to conquer the US just like he had the UK. The script was written. Joshua was the star and Andy Ruiz Jr. was just the extra. Joshua stepped into the ring, his chiseled frame glistening under the lights. Across from him stood Ruiz. Shorter, stockier, underestimated. Nobody saw him as a real threat. Even the commentators described him as a last-minute replacement who was just happy to be here. And for the first few rounds, it seemed like another routine night for AJ. 3rd round, Joshua explodes with a clean right hand, sending Ruiz crashing to the canvas. The crowd erupts. The script is playing out as expected.
Couple times. Oh, big shot.
Punch from Anthony Joshua.
But then Ruiz gets up. What happened next was something out of a nightmare. Joshua, the undefeated juggernaut, suddenly looked vulnerable. Moments after knocking Ruiz down, he gets caught. Boom, a left hook to the temple. Joshua wobbles. Another punch lands. He's down. The crowd is stunned.
Wow! Anthony Joshua hit an unbelievable
Joshua, the man who had walked through every opponent before him, is on his back. He gets up, but something is wrong. His legs aren't steady, his eyes aren't focused. Ruiz smells blood. He rushes in like a man possessed. Another knockdown, then another. Joshua is in survival mode. He reaches the corner, desperately trying to recover. But he's never been here before. He's never had to fight through this kind of adversity. And it shows. Round 7, the moment the world realized Joshua wasn't invincible, Ruiz corners him again, unleashing a barrage of punches. Joshua stumbles, falls against the ropes, barely able to stand. The referee steps in. It's over. Madison Square Garden falls silent, his mouth guard hanging out, his face vacant, his aura shattered. The once unstoppable champion has just suffered one of the biggest upsets in boxing history. The commentators are in disbelief. What just happened? Did we just witness the biggest shock in heavyweight history? Twitter explodes. The headlines roll in. The night the Joshua era ended. Biggest upset since Tyson Douglas. Is Anthony Joshua a fraud? And just like that, the questions began. Was Joshua ever really that good? Or had he just been carefully managed, protected, hyped beyond reality? This wasn't just a loss. This was an identity crisis. Joshua didn't just lose a fight. He lost the aura of invincibility, and worse, the world had just seen the blueprint on how to beat him. What happened next would determine everything. To his credit, Joshua did what great champions do. He came back. 6 months later, he faced Ruiz in a highly anticipated rematch, but this wasn't the same Joshua that fans had fallen in love with. The aggressive knockout artist was gone. The fearless finisher, now cautious, hesitant, and unwilling to take risks. For 12 rounds, Joshua boxed at a distance, carefully avoiding Ruiz's power. It wasn't pretty, but it was effective. He won. He got his belts back. On paper, it was redemption. In reality, something felt off. The fire wasn't there. The explosiveness, the confidence, it was missing. Instead of proving he was back, he proved that he was afraid to lose. The doubts lingered. Fans noticed. Was this the same Joshua who went to war with Klitschko? Or had the Ruiz loss changed him forever? Because in boxing, if you fight not to lose, you've already lost. And Joshua's next fight would prove just how deep those doubts had set in. If the Ruiz fight cracked Joshua's confidence, Alexander Usyk shattered it. When Joshua stepped into the ring with Usyk in 2021, the world expected him to prove a point, to silence the doubters, to remind everyone who the king of the heavyweight division was. Instead, we saw a masterclass in boxing, just not from Joshua. From the opening bell, Usyk's movement, speed, and ring IQ were on full display. He wasn't just outboxing Joshua, he was making him look ordinary. For 12 rounds, Usyk gave a technical lesson. He was quicker, sharper, more intelligent. Joshua had power, but he never let his hands go. It was like he didn't believe in himself anymore. When the final bell rang, there was no doubt Joshua had been schooled, but the real damage wasn't just on the scorecards, it was in Joshua's mind. This loss broke him in a way no other fight had. And it showed. Get ready for the meltdown. Yes, Joshua lost it. Joshua had always been known for his composure. Win or lose, Joshua stood motionless, his face blank. He had just lost all of his titles again. The dream of being the undisputed heavyweight champion was slipping away, and this time it didn't feel like he had the answers. And then the meltdown happened. Joshua stormed out of the ring, then he turned back, grabbed the microphone, and delivered one of the strangest post-fight speeches in boxing history. He wasn't making excuses, but he wasn't taking full responsibility either. His words were erratic, his emotions raw. He spoke about his journey, his struggles, even comparing himself to warriors from history. And if you knew my story, you'd understand the passion. But it didn't come off as inspiration, it came off as a man unraveling in real time. And he threw down the belts, his own championship belts, before walking out of the ring again. Fans were left stunned. Commentators struggled for words. This wasn't just a loss. This was the public unraveling of a fighter who had carried the weight of expectations for years. Boxing analysts were ruthless. And this isn't the AJ we used to know. He looked lost in there, and now he looks lost outside the ring too. The media pounced. Twitter was brutal. Memes flooded social media, mocking Joshua's bizarre speech and emotional break. For the first time, it felt like Joshua had lost more than a fight. He had lost himself. The rematch came in 2022, but it was deja vu. Joshua fought better, he was more aggressive, but the result was the same. Usyk outclassed him again. This time, Joshua didn't just lose a fight, he lost his identity as a dominant force in heavyweight boxing. And from this point on, every fight, every move would be questioned. Joshua was no longer the unbeatable juggernaut. He was now just another contender. If the Usyk fights signaled the decline, the Dubois fight felt like the funeral. By 2024, the Joshua mystique was hanging by a thread. He needed a big win, not just a win, but a dominant performance. Something to convince the world that he was still a top-tier heavyweight, something to silence the growing doubts. So when the fight with Daniel Dubois was announced, the stakes couldn't have been higher. Dubois was younger, hungrier, and eager to prove himself. But Joshua was fighting for his career. But here's the thing, Joshua didn't see Dubois as a threat. In the weeks leading up to the fight, tensions flared. Joshua and Dubois had an intense face-off at the press conference, and AJ made it clear he didn't respect Dubois as a serious challenger. He dismissed him as just another stepping stone. He spoke about experience, pedigree, and levels. "You're not ready for this," Joshua said, staring Dubois down. "You're good, but you're not, mate." Dubois didn't flinch. He didn't engage in trash talk, but his silence said everything. It wasn't respect, it was belief. He knew something Joshua didn't. At the weigh-in, tensions boiled over. Joshua got in Dubois' face, pushing him back, laughing him off. To the cameras, he looked confident. To those paying close attention, it looked forced. Deep down, Joshua was trying to convince himself that he was still the dominant force in the heavyweight division. But what happened in the ring told a different story.
Joshua!
Wembley Stadium, a sold-out crowd, the pressure suffocating. And when the first bell rang, it was clear something was wrong. Dubois came out aggressive, but Joshua didn't respond. He looked hesitant, unsure of himself, almost as if he was waiting for the inevitable. Then came the first knockdown, a stiff jab, a delayed reaction. Joshua stumbled and hit the canvas. Joshua got up quickly, but the look in his eyes said it all. He didn't want to be there.
Legs for a big portion of that round looked unsteady from Joshua. That was the slip, it's the canvas. You see.
The second knockdown came in the third round. This time it was worse. A clean right hand to the temple. Joshua fell, shaking his head as if trying to convince himself he was still in control. But the fight was slipping away, and everyone in that stadium could feel it. By round 5, it was over. Dubois landed a devastating right hook, sending Joshua crashing to the canvas. He tried to get up, but his body said no. The referee counted to 10. It was done. Wembley fell silent. No one could believe what they had just seen. Anthony Joshua, the once great champion, the face of British boxing, had just been knocked out in brutal fashion by a rising contender. It wasn't just a loss, it was the final nail in the coffin. The commentators didn't know what to say. Some called it the end of an era. Others questioned whether Joshua should even continue fighting. Was this really the same man who once stood atop the heavyweight division? The internet was ruthless. It's over. And deep down, Joshua knew it too. This wasn't just another setback. This was the moment he became the past instead of the future. Losing a fight is one thing, losing your identity is another. After the devastating loss to Daniel Dubois, Joshua wasn't just a beaten fighter, he was a man at a crossroads. For years, he had been the golden boy of British boxing, the media darling, the poster child for success. But now he was being labelled a fallen giant, a former champion, a shell of his former self, and the pressure was relentless. Joshua had always carried himself with grace in the public eye, smiling for cameras, playing the humble, respectful champion. But behind closed doors, the cracks were showing. Interviews became tense. Joshua wasn't the same composed, confident man who once spoke about his ambitions of ruling the division. Instead, he seemed lost in his own thoughts, second-guessing every word. In one interview, when asked about his future, his response was haunting. "I don't know, maybe it's time to let go, maybe I've given all I can." This wasn't just a fighter who lost, this was a fighter questioning everything. And outside the ring, things weren't any better. Just days before the Dubois fight, Joshua made headlines for all the wrong reasons. He pleaded guilty to a speeding offence. And his reasoning? Mental and physical fatigue from training camp. It wasn't just a traffic violation, it was a glimpse into his state of mind, a fighter at the peak of his career, admitting to exhaustion, stress and mental strain. This was unheard of for Joshua.
Shut up, relax. Relax.
If you want to go now, let's go.
Relax.
If you want to go now, let's go.
Chair across your face. Don't disrespect.
No, you can't.
This was the man who once trained like a machine, who thrived under pressure, but now the weight of it all was crushing him. Fans saw it too. He wasn't the same. The fire in his eyes was gone. The hunger, the killer instinct, it had been replaced with doubt. The loneliness of a champion. In boxing, you're surrounded by people when you're winning. Trainers, friends, fans, sponsors. Everyone wants to be in your corner, but when you lose, the room gets smaller. For the first time, Joshua was experiencing isolation. The same people who once praised him were now criticizing his every move. Some of his closest allies started to distance themselves. Rumors swirled about tension in his camp, about disagreements with his team, and the media, brutal. Every interview, every press conference, the same question haunted him. Are you finished? Should you retire? Is this the end of Anthony Joshua? Each time he heard it, the doubt seemed to grow, searching for redemption, but at what cost? Despite the crushing defeats, despite the questions, despite the doubt, Joshua still believed he had one last fight in him. He kept training, he kept pushing, he kept trying to convince the world and himself that he wasn't done yet. But the real question remained, was he fighting for redemption, or was he fighting because he didn't know who he was without boxing? Because if history has taught us anything, it's that the most dangerous fight a boxer can face is the one against himself. And Joshua was running out of time to figure out which fight he was really in. In boxing, every fighter dreams of that one defining moment, that one fight that cements their legacy. For Anthony Joshua, there's only one fight left that truly matters: Tyson Fury. After all the talk, all the failed negotiations, all the social media jabs, this is the last chance to make it happen. Because let's be real, if Joshua doesn't fight Fury now, he never will. A few years ago, a Fury versus Joshua fight would have been a battle for undisputed greatness. But now it's about redemption. Now it's about proving who still belongs at the top. Fury, the undefeated heavyweight, has taunted Joshua for years, calling him mentally weak, overrated, and a bodybuilder, not a fighter. Joshua, on the other hand, has always brushed it off until now. Because after losing to Usyk, after being knocked out by Dubois, after his confidence has been shattered, can he really afford to ignore Fury's words anymore? This isn't just another fight. This is his last shot at proving he's still elite. But here's the problem. Is it too late? Joshua knows this could be his final year in boxing. The years of wars, the brutal losses, the mental strain, it's all catching up. And Fury, he's still on top, still undefeated, still controlling the division. If Joshua takes the fight and loses, it's over. No more world title dreams, no more comeback stories, just another great fighter who couldn't reclaim his throne. But if he wins, he does what no one expects. He shocks the world. He becomes a 3-time heavyweight champion. This is it, the defining moment of his career. One last fight to rewrite his legacy. And the question is, does he take it, or does he walk away while he still has his health, his money, and what's left of his reputation? Now it's your turn to weigh in. What do you think? Is it time for Joshua to take one last stand? Can he still become a 3-time world champion? Or is it time to hang up the gloves for good? Drop a comment below and let us know. Is this the final chapter of Anthony Joshua's career? Or is the best yet to come?